The massive view screen flickered with an eerie blue-green light, casting long shadows across the bridge of the USS Horizon. Captain David Kim gripped the edge of his command console, his eyes locked on the alien vessel that seemed to dwarf their entire human fleet. The ship was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, a living, breathing mechanical organism that pulsed with an otherworldly energy. "Incoming transmission," Lieutenant Elena Park announced, her voice steady but tinged with a hint of tension. The communication systems crackled to life, filling the bridge with a series of complex mathematical frequencies that slowly resolved into something resembling language. The alien representative appeared, a creature with iridescent skin that shifted colors like a living kaleidoscope. Its form was vaguely humanoid, but with too many joints and eyes that seemed to look in multiple directions simultaneously. When it spoke, the words emerged not as sound, but as a direct neural transmission that sent a cold shiver down David's spine. "Primitive carbon-based species," the transmission began, "your technological development is approximately 2.7 million years behind the Galactic Confederation's standard progression. We are here to assess your potential for minimal resource integration." David exchanged a quick glance with his second-in-command, Thomas Yai. The message was clear. The aliens saw humans as nothing more than potential workers, or worse, livestock, for their galactic expansion. The ship's younger crew members tried to hide their anger, but David could see the fire brewing in their eyes. They had trained their entire lives, pushed the boundaries of human exploration, and now some cosmic bureaucrats were reducing their entire species to a statistical calculation. "Incoming scan," Elena warned. A massive energy pulse swept across the horizon, mapping every centimeter of their vessel. It felt invasive, like a cold finger probing their most intimate technological secrets. What the aliens didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Every technological breakthrough, every secret military research, every innovation had been leading to this precise moment of first contact. The alien vessel began to move, its massive tentacle-like appendages stretching out like mechanical tendrils. It was preparing some form of extraction protocol, a standard procedure for species they deemed underdeveloped. "Defensive systems online," Thomas whispered, his fingers dancing across the weapon control interfaces. The Horizon's experimental quantum shield generators hummed to life, a technology so advanced that it was barely understood even by its creators. David watched the alien vessel's movements. They were precise, calculated, the kind of movement that suggested centuries of technological superiority, but something in his gut told him that the Confederation had made a critical error. Humans were not just another species to be catalogued and controlled. They were adaptable, creative, and possessed an unpredictability that no advanced civilization could truly comprehend. The tension on the bridge was thick enough to cut with a knife. Young technicians exchanged nervous glances, their hands hovering over communication and weapon systems. Each understood the magnitude of this moment, humanity's first true encounter with an extraterrestrial intelligence. Suddenly, the alien vessel's movement changed. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but David noticed. They were positioning themselves not as conquerors, but as something more calculating. A preliminary assessment was turning into something more aggressive. "Prepare first contact protocols," David commanded, his voice calm and measured. Years of training had prepared him for this exact moment. The crew around him moved with a precision that would have impressed even their alien observers. The universe watched. Humanity stood on the precipice of its greatest adventure, a moment that would define their species' future among the stars. Little did the Galactic Confederation know they had just made the most significant miscalculation in their entire history. End of part 1. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story? The research facility hummed with an electric intensity that few outside the scientific community could comprehend. Engineer Rachel Lee stood before a massive holographic display, her fingers moving with surgical precision across quantum interface panels. The alien probe they had captured during the initial encounter wasn't just a piece of technology, it was a key to unlocking mysteries beyond human imagination. Surrounding her, a team of the world's most brilliant minds worked in perfect synchronization. Young engineers, veteran scientists, and brilliant computational experts from every corner of the globe had been assembled for this singular purpose. The probe lay dissected on a central platform, its alien technology pulsing with an almost living energy. "We've got a breakthrough," called out Dr. June Park, the lead quantum physicist. His hands were trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the pure excitement of scientific discovery. The alien technology was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. Its molecular structure seemed to defy known physical laws, shifting and adapting in ways that challenged everything they understood about engineering. Rachel zoomed in on a microscopic circuit network. What looked like random connections to an untrained eye was actually a complex communication system that could transmit information across multiple dimensional planes. She recognized patterns, subtle, intricate, but ultimately decipherable. "It's not just a communication device," she muttered, more to herself than to her colleagues. "It's a living system of information." The facility was a fortress of human innovation. Located deep beneath the Gobi Desert, it was protected by layers of technological and physical security that would make most military installations look like child's play. Every surface was a potential interface, every wall lined with quantum reactive materials that could process information at speeds previously thought impossible. Outside, the world continued its usual rhythm, completely unaware of the technological revolution brewing underground. Governments knew, of course, but they understood the importance of absolute secrecy. Hours turned into days. The team worked in shifts, each bringing their unique perspective to the alien technology. They weren't just reverse engineering, they were reimagining what technology could be. Every breakthrough was another nail in the coffin of the alien. Confederation's superiority complex, Dr. Yi, a robotics expert, had begun developing adaptive interface systems that could communicate with the alien probe's core infrastructure. It was like learning an entirely new language, not just of communication but of existence itself. "Look at this," Rachel called out, pulling up a holographic model that made the entire room gasp. She had discovered a way to not just understand the alien technology, but to actually enhance it. The probe's quantum communication system could be modified, expanded, transformed into something entirely new. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just about defense anymore. This was about taking the fight to the aliens on their own technological playing field. Young engineers worked with veteran scientists, their combined knowledge creating something greater than the sum of its parts. They were humanity's last line of defense and its first wave of technological revolution. By the end of the week, what had started as a captured alien probe had been transformed into something entirely new. A hybrid technology that combined the best of human creativity with alien engineering. It was elegant, powerful, and absolutely unexpected. The Galactic Confederation had made a critical error. They had presented humanity with a technological puzzle, and humanity had not just solved it, but redesigned the entire concept of solution. Rachel looked at her team, exhausted, inspired, ready to change the universe. They weren't just scientists anymore. They were humanity's first line of defense against a universe that had severely underestimated their potential. "We're ready," she whispered, her finger hovering over the final activation. End of part 2. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story? The soft hum of quantum communication networks filled the strategically designed Psychological Operations Center. Michael Kwan leaned back in his chair, eyes scanning. Multiple holographic displays that tracked the intricate web of alien communications. This wasn't just a mission, it was a delicate dance of information, manipulation, and pure human creativity. Each display represented a different layer of the Galactic Confederation's communication networks. Years of covert intelligence gathering had provided humanity with an unprecedented view into the alien society's most intimate communication channels. What they discovered was a complex, hierarchical system riddled with internal tensions and unresolved historical conflicts. "Target acquired," whispered Elena, the lead communications specialist. Her fingers danced across quantum encryption interfaces that would make top-secret government systems look like children's toys. They weren't just intercepting messages, they were understanding the very psychology of alien communication. The Galactic Confederation believed they were dealing with a primitive species. They had no idea that humans had turned psychological warfare into an art form that transcended traditional understanding. Michael had spent years studying xenopsychology, cultural communication patterns, and the subtle art of information manipulation. Their first strike was subtle, a carefully crafted communication that would be almost invisible to standard alien detection systems. It targeted the specific communication frequencies used by mid-level administrators in the alien bureaucratic structure. The message was designed to plant seeds of doubt, to create microscopic fractures in their organizational unity. "Watch this," Michael said quietly to his team. The holographic displays began to show subtle shifts in communication patterns, where, once there was uniform communication, now small inconsistencies began to appear. It was like watching a complex machine slowly develop microscopic structural failures. The alien communication networks were incredibly advanced, but they had one critical weakness. They were designed with the assumption of rational, predictable behavior. Humans, by contrast, were anything but predictable. Young analysts worked alongside veteran strategists, each bringing their unique perspective to the psychological operation. They weren't just sending messages. They were creating entire narrative structures that would slowly erode the alien confederation's internal stability. One display showed the first signs of success. A high-ranking alien administrator began questioning a long-standing protocol, something that would have been unthinkable just days earlier. Another display revealed internal communication threads becoming more fragmented, more defensive. "We're not just breaking their communication, Dr. Park," the lead xenolinguist explained. "We're fundamentally challenging their understanding of communication itself." The team had developed an algorithm that could generate communication patterns so nuanced, so perfectly tailored to alien psychological profiles, that they would be indistinguishable from genuine internal communications. It was like creating a virus that could infect an entire civilization's communication infrastructure. Hours turned into days. The psychological operation continued, each message a precision instrument designed to create maximum internal confusion. They targeted specific cultural memories, exploited historical tensions, and created narrative threads that would slowly unravel the alien confederation's internal unity. Young analysts watched in amazement as their strategies began to take effect. Communication networks that had been uniform and predictable now showed signs of increasing complexity and internal conflict. It was like watching a complex machine slowly tear itself apart from within. Michael understood something fundamental that the aliens had missed. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its military might. It was its ability to understand, adapt, and manipulate complex systems of communication and psychology. The Galactic Confederation had made a critical error. They had assumed that technological superiority meant cultural superiority. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Prepare the next communication wave," Michael commanded, a slight smile crossing his face. The psychological warfare had only just begun. End of part 3. Would you like me to continue with the next part of the story? The Orion sector erupted in a cascade of brilliant energy pulses, transforming the vast darkness of space into a canvas of destructive beauty. 12 modified human starships faced off against the massive alien fleet, a confrontation that would redefine galactic warfare forever. Commander Helen Kim stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, her hands steady on the quantum navigation controls. Around her, a crew of the most elite human pilots and strategists watched the unfolding battle with a mix of determination and calculated precision. The alien fleet approached with mathematical perfection, massive ships that looked like living crystals, each movement calculated to deliver maximum destruction. They expected an easy victory, a simple elimination of what they considered a primitive species. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Gravitational slingshot sequence initiated, Lieutenant June Park announced. The human ships began an impossible dance, moving not with traditional spacecraft mechanics, but with a fluidity that defied all known combat protocols. They twisted through space using planetary gravitational fields, creating movement patterns that the alien targeting systems couldn't comprehend. Each human ship was more than a weapon. It was a living, adaptive system. Experimental quantum shields flickered with an iridescent energy, absorbing and redirecting alien weapon systems. The technology was so advanced that it seemed to predict weapon trajectories before they were even launched. The first wave of alien energy weapons struck, massive plasma charges that would have obliterated conventional military vessels. But these weren't conventional vessels. The human ships absorbed the energy, redistributed it, and used the alien weapon's own power against them. "Redirect solar radiation," Helen commanded. Suddenly, the nearby star became a weapon. The ships manipulated stellar energy, creating focused radiation beams that sliced through alien ship defenses like they were made of paper. What the aliens didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for this moment for generations. Every technological breakthrough, every theoretical combat simulation had led to this precise moment. They weren't just fighting, they were rewriting the fundamental understanding of space combat. The alien fleet began to break formation. Their perfect mathematical approach was being dismantled by pure human unpredictability. Where alien ships moved with precise calculations, human vessels danced, changing direction, using planetary gravity, creating combat patterns that seemed to defy the basic laws of physics. Young pilots who had trained their entire lives in advanced combat simulators now showed why humanity was a species to be feared. They weren't just following protocols, they were improvising, creating new combat techniques in real time. One human vessel deliberately allowed itself to be damaged, drawing alien ships into a carefully prepared trap. As the alien vessels converged, expecting an easy kill, they found themselves caught in a quantum entanglement field that scrambled their communication and navigation systems. "Primary objective achieved," June reported. The alien fleet was no longer a coordinated fighting force. They had become a confused collection of individual vessels. Helen watched the holographic display, her strategy unfolding with surgical precision. They weren't just fighting. They were sending a message that would echo through the entire galactic confederation. Humans were not a species to be conquered. The final moments of the battle were a testament to human ingenuity. Using a combination of stolen alien technology, quantum manipulation, and pure strategic creativity, the 12 human ships decimated a fleet that outnumbered them 100-1. As the last alien vessel erupted in a brilliant explosion, Helen allowed herself a slight smile. The universe had just learned a valuable lesson about underestimating humanity. This was more than a battle. This was a declaration. End of Part 4. Would you like me to continue with the final part of the story? The massive diplomatic chamber floated in neutral space, a crystalline structure suspended between galaxies. Delegates from 100 different alien civilizations watched in stunned silence as Eric Kim approached the central negotiation platform. Holographic displays flickered with recordings of humanity's recent military and technological achievements. The devastating battle in the Orion sector played on repeat, 12 human ships destroying an entire alien fleet that had been considered invincible. Eric wasn't just an ambassador. He was a strategic genius who had spent decades understanding alien communication, politics, and psychological patterns. Every movement, every gesture was calculated with precision that made the most sophisticated alien negotiators look like amateurs. "Representatives of the Galactic Confederation," he began, his voice calm and measured. "Your assessment of humanity was fundamentally flawed." The chamber fell silent. Alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their biomechanical seats. Some had multiple limbs, others existed as pure energy patterns, but they all shared one common emotion right now: fear. Eric activated a holographic display that began showcasing humanity's rapid technological evolution. From the first captured alien probe to their revolutionary quantum communication systems, The presentation was a brutal demonstration of human potential. "We are not a species to be controlled," Eric continued. "We are a species that adapts, evolves, and transforms." The negotiation wasn't just about stopping an invasion. It was about redefining humanity's place in the galactic community. Eric had spent months preparing, analyzing every possible communication strategy, understanding the complex political dynamics of alien civilizations. Diplomatic protocols demanded a formal hearing, but everyone in the chamber knew the real negotiation had already happened on the battlefield. The military confrontation had been a clear message. Humanity would not be subjugated. Holographic displays showed technological blueprints, military strategies, and communication intercepts that demonstrated humanity's unprecedented capabilities. Each revelation was like another nail in the alien confederation's diplomatic coffin. The most powerful alien representatives found themselves trapped. Their own communication networks had been compromised, their military might demonstrated to be inferior, and their technological superiority completely dismantled. "We require the following reparations," Eric stated, his voice never changing tone. The demands were precise: advanced technological transfers, permanent non-aggression protocols, and recognition of human sovereignty. Young human diplomats watched. From secondary chambers, their faces a mixture of pride and determination. They weren't just witnessing a negotiation. They were watching humanity's official entrance onto the galactic stage. The alien delegates realized they had no real choice. Humanity had proven itself not just as a potential threat, but as a civilization that could fundamentally change the existing galactic order. One by one, alien representatives began to agree. Quantum communication channels lit up with acceptance protocols. The most advanced civilizations in the universe were essentially surrendering to a species they had once considered primitive. Eric's final statement was simple but powerful. Humanity does not seek conquest. We seek understanding, progress, and mutual respect. The diplomatic chamber became a moment of historical transformation. Humans had not just defended themselves, they had redesigned the entire concept of galactic interactions. The negotiations concluded. The holographic displays showed something remarkable. The 12 ships that had decimated the alien fleet were now being studied by alien scientists, not as weapons but as potential partners in technological development. Humanity had turned a potential extinction-level threat into a diplomatic and technological triumph. They hadn't just survived, they had redefined what it meant to be a galactic civilization. The universe would never be the same again. End of Part 5. Would you